What's up, good people? What's happening? What's happening? Week 8 in the NFL. What do we call this one? Mid-season form? Yeah, that's what
Mid-season
we call
form.
it.
Yeah.
Mid-season form. Week 8 in the NFL. Stories all over the place. Of course, the Bears lost. We're going to talk about that. But we're going to do our best to get through the league because we're at midway form right now. And I think the cream is starting to rise to the top a little bit in these divisions. Who's good, who's not any good, and who's still in the hunt to be good. A lot of these teams are showing themselves, their identities. The injuries are piling up in a few teams. I think throughout the league at this time of the season, no one's really 100% because of the nature of the game. That's just how I feel about it. Ken, what you got, man? I know the Bears went down 30-16 to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. And I'm going to toot my horn a little bit on this one, but let me know how you feel about
it. Trap game. Like we was texting before.
Yeah, that's what that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, I
the
know.
Trap game that you called it. Yeah.
It's trap game. Hey, if you're on a winning streak and you're on the process of on the journey of trying to become a good team, you have trap games because they should have took care of business versus a backup quarterback this is third stint with the team, so you should be able to take care of business versus them. When they didn't cash in them touchdowns and they got field goals on them first two possessions, I was like, if the defense don't get turnovers today, it's gonna be tight. And of course, defense ain't getting no turnovers. We gave one away. The running game didn't look as good as it had in the last two games, at least for sure. And then the end of the game, they looked like it looked like Eberflus coaching staff was out there, how they mismanaged the clock at the end of the game. That was just really, and even in the first half when Caleb had that scramble and he didn't get out of bounds and he slid and they had to burn that timeout.
Even DJ Moore's catch on the sideline. He got criticized for not stepping out of bounds on that. You're not the only one I've heard say that this didn't look like a typical, like what the Bear fans have been used to seeing, as far as from a game management standpoint. Still having issues with the penalties, but like you said again, I've heard that in a few places that just look like one of those same old Bears games, typical Bears game. It didn't look the way it looked in the last 2 or 3 weeks where he was figuring out a way to win these games. And I think we discussed it that the turnover thing is not sustainable. And that was something that everyone was continuing to say in the major media markets, was that, if you need these turnovers to be good, then you might not be as good. I think there's a lot of blame to go around with the Bears. No defensive pass rush. He has some injuries and on the defensive side of the ball. You can say that the lack of the commitment to the run game, which has served them so well for the past 2 weeks, coming out of the bye. They've done so much of a much better job of running the football. But I begin to question whether or not that DeAndre Swift was a little banged up. And I got to that point in the third quarter when I noticed that Kyle Monangai was starting. But DeAndre Swift did come back and he did get a chance to rush the football some more. In this game, give you some quick stats. For Caleb Williams, he was 25 of 38 for 285 yards, 1 interception, and the numbers are a bit, those are almost empty calories, what you call it.
Yeah, empty calories, but yeah, 1 bad interceptions because all interceptions ain't created equal.
No. Yeah, I mean, some of them get deflected, and sometimes, and we spoke about this before. Um, I believe I talked to you about it. And I told you that he stares Rome Odunze down, and if I'm not mistaken, when he's been throwing the interception that he has thrown, I think he's thrown multiple, at least two interceptions that has went to Rome Odunze, uh, being targeted in those plays. And when you look at this play in particular, you could tell that even as this game was going on, I forget the guy's name that picked him off. But he was baiting a little bit because
Yeah,
Rome was
ran,
effective early.
yeah,
Say that again.
he ran the route. He undercut the route, and it
Yeah,
was two defenders in the area when he ended up where he ended up throwing the ball. So I
yeah.
mean, yeah, and you got to take into account the area of the field. Like all interceptions are not
Oh
created.
yeah, yeah. Deep in your own territory. You can question the play calling on that too.
At the second,
And
wasn't it? No, that was
I'm not
first.
for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was most definitely a passing down, but from a defense perspective, that you have to think that once you get into the second quarter of a football game playing against the Bears and you're on a must for sure passing down with the Bears, you're going to key in on Roma Dunze. At this point of the season, the tendencies are telling you to do that. Um, and that's where the question comes in at with with Caleb's ability to move the to get more guys involved and the tight ends and DJ Moore and you know what I'm saying. Just Cole Kmet was out. Colston Loveland was able to play Sunday, but you question whether or not Caleb's seeing the field particularly well. Is he giving up on the plays too early, breaking the pocket, and it can be quite frustrating. Also, without looking at the tape, how effective is the offensive line? All of it plays a part in all of this, in the running game, in the passing game, and all that. I don't want to, you there's going to be a lot of piling up on Caleb Williams. So,
Oh, I
if
heard
that's
it.
what
Yeah, I heard it.
I'm not going to do that because I've already had my opinion of Caleb Williams. It's up to Caleb Williams to change my mind, and that's to be great, to be good, and be great. So I'm not going to pile up on the kid because I always felt like he had some limitations anyway, and some of those limitations are starting to creep up.
Hey, I heard him. I like to stay in tune with the ESPN 1000s of the world, and I just to hear what the fan base is saying more so than what the host of the show are saying. And yeah, they already talking about we should have took Drake May, and how could you not even evaluate another quarterback in the draft process? All of this stuff is starting to come to the surface when I'm pretty sure a lot of these people were in the camp of, well, we gotta go get Caleb Williams. He's a generational talent. We gotta go
Yeah.
get him. We gotta move
hmm
off of Justin. We gotta do that.
Well, moving off of Justin, they probably had to do that, and I'm pretty honestly, I can come to grips with that at this time. At that time, I had an issue with it. But even if you was moving off Justin, you still got to evaluate the other guys at the position, and all allegations is that Ryan Poles was just sold on Caleb Williams. It's even been said that he laughed at the game tape of some of these other guys, and then to speak on the whole
I still say
with
he was gun shy of history. He didn't want to make the same mistakes as the previous front office personnel.
say girl elaborate on that a little bit.
he
when you
didn't
say
want to
that.
be saddled. He didn't want to be the GM that
They
passed
passed up on.
on what was considered a generational talent. He couldn't afford to do that when this
Yeah.
town is still so just bitter, and they still just
And
that.
that was a national narrative, though.
Yeah, but the
Mhm.
town is just that wound of we never even, talked to Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes was in that. That wound has never closed in this city.
Mhm.
So, you know, he had that hanging over him. And like I said, he couldn't be the GM to make that call. He just couldn't. He couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't go against the grain. That's exactly what Ryan Pace did when he drafted Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, there was no. I believe the closest guy that was a sure thing in everybody's eyes to being the number one pick at that time was Deshaun Watson. And I forget who the top defensive player was in that draft that year, but the Bears, they didn't have the first overall pick. Don't get me wrong, but they still had an opportunity. If they was going to get a quarterback, they still had an opportunity to go get any quarterback they wanted, because I don't think it was a quarterback taken off the board at that point. And the most popular opinion was that Deshaun Watson was the guy, and then Deshaun Kaiser, and then you go down to Mitchell Trubisky, and then Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes was not. He was probably not the top five. He's probably not even in the top five. When or probably right at the fifth ranked quarterback in that draft. Coaching matters, skill sets matter, meshing those two things together matters, and I think Patrick Mahomes got the best of that deal with Andy Reid. But like you said, the city of Chicago is still reeling over that decision. And like you said, Ryan Poles was put in a position where he had the first overall pick, and he had just traded away the year before,
Right.
was put in the situation again to get that first pick again. So he went with the popular opinion. And if this don't work out, he's gonna be the one that they're gonna look at like, well, you didn't even bother to bring those guys in. So I get it where you coming from. But when you speak on it, so now Drake May's playing well, second season. I
Yeah.
think the end of the season he got off. He started to play really well at the end of the season. Then the Patriots, fired their coach, and then they brought in who they
Mike
bring in
Vrabel.
at the Mike Vrabel. They bring Mike Vrabel in, a former Patriot, and he's the head coach now. Good coach. He was also probably in consideration for the Bears job. Defensive guy, but Josh McDaniel is the offensive coordinator in New England, and we all know that Josh McDaniel may not be the best head football coach. He's had two opportunities, I believe, and didn't do well. But he's most definitely a really good offensive coordinator. He did it for so many years with Bill Belichick, and to pair him up with Drake May, and I have to believe that Josh McDaniel will not get another job offer or opportunity unless the Patriots win another Super Bowl, and it's how they win the Super Bowl. Because being that he's already had two opportunities to be a head coach. So what I'm saying is we can probably expect for Drake May, he can stay healthy and be
Yeah.
with Josh McDaniels for
Yeah.
multiple seasons. We can probably expect for him to do pretty well.
Yeah.
Just pairing up the coach, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback, and the skill sets is available to him.
Yeah.
So, but
And
when you talk about him, not Josh McDaniel, but Drake May. So
yeah.
last year it was Jaden Daniels. Should have took Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels injured. So now it's Drake May. So
Don't
you can only pick
forget Bo
one.
Nix. Don't forget
Yeah,
Bo.
yeah. Well, I like Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. I, I wasn't high on Daniels because I hadn't seen him enough. But hindsight is he was prepared. And that's one thing a lot of people don't think about. They forget when he was at Arizona State that he played with Herm Edwards, and Herm Edwards had a bunch of former head football coaches from the NFL on his staff. So he was prepped up by pros. And then he went to LSU, transferred from Arizona State, went to LSU, played in probably one of the top defensive conferences in the country, and got exposed to even better coaching on the other side of the football. As far as the teams he was going up against in the SEC. So that's part of his development. Bo Nix came out the SEC, started out at Auburn, where, like I said again, you always got those tough, all that speed and all those tough defenses in the SEC. Everybody knows that Georgia and Alabama at that time were always two of the top teams on defense. But the Vanderbilts, the Floridas, the South Carolinas, you know what I'm saying? The Tennessees, those teams weren't bad either. They were probably not Georgia or Alabama, but they still brought it every week. And for him to be developed in that conference got him ready for the NFL. So when you add his stop at Arizona State, his experience and the level of competition he went up against in the SEC, and when we see him play in the NFL, it translates. And a lot of the scouts probably felt that way, but us as fans, we don't look at it as that in depth, but it's kind of translating. Drake May with Josh McDaniel, bottom line is this whole thing gonna flip flop. And if it don't work out with Caleb, they're gonna always look back. And if these guys continue to ascend to be successful, it's gonna be the same old, same old. But it's only one game. It's only one game. It's one loss. The Bears 4-3. I think they got to get back to what they do, running the football. They got Cincinnati coming up next week. I mean,
who just
like
lost?
I don't want to. They just lost to the Jets. That's a story in itself. Matter of fact, let's get to that.
I was about to say, can we go there? Because I think what you saw yesterday, especially after the week Justin had, but what you saw him do yesterday is the reason why teams will go and get Justin as a backup quarterback if he have to come in and play 4 games. As long as he don't have to play a big sample size, his chances of doing something spectacular to affect the game and have you on the right side of it are way higher. So he can command a pretty good salary as a backup quarterback, at least until his athleticism wanes. Yeah. Teams will pay him. Look like a Jameis Winston, like when Jameis first left Tampa and went to New Orleans, and then he went I forgot where he went after that. But Jameis was a commodity that you was cool with having, because Jameis could run the offense, but the longer he out there, he gonna throw it to the other team too. So same thing with Justin. I think that was an advertisement for Justin Fields to be your backup quarterback.
I give it. I feel you on that, but they paid him. And my thing is, as I watched the Jets this season, and you went out on a limb and you paid him, challenge the guy, and challenge the young man to be a quarterback at the highest level. And when I watched them week in and week out, that's not what I seen. I seen them. They lean real heavy on the run game, and he had a really good game against Pittsburgh. Okay, the first game of the season, and a lot of people like to throw that week out, but nevertheless, he had a really good game against Pittsburgh. The defense wasn't all that good. They lose that game. That's probably the closest thing they had to winning the game up until Sunday. Excuse me, when they actually went out and when they beat the Bengals. But this is my thing. Okay, so I believe that Braylon, what's his name? What's his name? Breece Hall.
Yeah,
Breece Hall and the other running back. He's injured right now.
Allen.
Braylon Allen. Those guys together are 1-2 a really talented duo at that running back position. And they were doing a very good job running the football. The problem is they would fumble the ball, you know, turn the ball over in key moments. Defense wasn't good enough to wasn't good enough at that time to play behind that. They lost some games. Most definitely the game against the Steelers they shouldn't have lost. That was on the defense. But the Buffalo game, Buffalo's just better than them, hands down. Miami, turnovers, mistakes. Uh
That's the game. Was they Justin got the concussion, right?
that was the Buffalo game.
Oh, okay. All right.
Buffalo was the game that he got the concussion. And that's when I said, you know what? Justin old coach a big thank you for getting him to cover his ass on that. As me myself personally, I don't want to question nobody's threshold for pain, but I mean, he saved Justin's ass, putting him out, with that concussion. I don't want to say he didn't have a. Allegedly, he had a concussion. That's all I'm gonna say. Allegedly, he had a concussion, and he missed the next week, which was I think they played against Tampa. They had a really good game against Tampa, and Tyrod Taylor almost brought him back to win that game. So they had some games where they were in it. The one game they just totally lost was that Buffalo game for sure. But they had some games where they just beating themselves, penalties, turnovers, whatever. But this is my thing with Justin. You paid him. You paid him. Challenge the young man to throw the football. We already know, every quarterback needs a solid running game. Justin's no different. But don't challenge him to throw the football because you paid him. Justin didn't look this bad in Chicago. I'm just being honest with you. Up until Sunday, Justin did not look this bad in Chicago. That's because Chicago was asking him to be the man. But what they didn't do was put the pieces around him so that he could develop. No running game, no real running game. And when the running game did start to flourish, the guys would get banged up here or there. Bottom line is, he was never surrounded with the right coaching, in my opinion. He keeps getting set up with these defensive coaches. And then he's getting set up with these offensive coordinators. This is their first time calling plays. Outside of Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh. Lou Getsy, first time OC, offensive coordinator, calling plays. Tanner Hangstrom in New York. He came to New York with Coach Aaron Glenn from Detroit. First time offensive coordinator, first time calling plays. Look, when you're a quarterback that struggled the way that Justin Fields struggled, you need a guy that's gonna coach and put you in position to succeed. Put the pressure on him so we can see if he can be that guy. That's what you paid him to be. And that's not what the Jets did. They tried to lean heavy on the run game. But then what would happen is they would get down 2 or 3 possessions. Then all of a sudden, he could throw the football. And now keep in mind, he does not have any interceptions this year. Call it as you may. But the problem is you ain't asking him to do much. Now, with the game against Cincinnati, I counted them out. It was 31-16. I counted them out. But
late third quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were down by 10 late in the game, and I called it. I called it. I said I'm off on this one. They're not gonna get it done. But even up to that point, Justin was having a decent game, but the defense wasn't tackling well. They couldn't stop the run. Chase Brown and P. Ryan was running all over them. They weren't tackling well. The reason why the score was 39-38.
Yeah.
That's self-explanatory. Okay. The score was 39-38. But for Justin Fields, this was probably his first come from behind win ever in the National Football League. And it wasn't all on his arm. Justin Fields made some plays. Don't get me wrong. He threw for a touchdown. He was 21 of 32 for 244 yards and a touchdown. And I think he ran in a 2-point conversion. But the guy in that game, in my opinion, and Justin has to be assisted with this consistently, was Brees Hall. He was 18 carries for 133 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and he threw a touchdown pass to give him the winning score to win that game and close it out. And then the defense came out and closed it out at the end. Now Justin got a lot of publicity behind this game, but Brees Hall was the man. It was nice to see Justin get going. Like you said, you see him as a backup, but they're on the bye this week. Going forward, I paid you. I'm going to challenge you that way every week until we figure out you're absolutely not good enough. I'm just saying. Because who are you watching in college football right now that you're going to take a first overall pick as a quarterback?
I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. Because Aller, I don't look first overall pick. Ty Simpson, I wouldn't give him first overall pick. The kid from Oregon, too small.
Is he even talking about Moore, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, Dante Moore.
Is he eligible? Well, he's probably eligible, but do you see him even coming out this season?
No, I'm just trying to think of top 10 quarterbacks. He might not.
Yeah.
Arch ain't first.
No, that ain't it. Archer be happy to be the quarterback at Texas next year for the second year in a row, to be honest. But there's really no one that you can point out.
So you telling me after the bye week they're gonna go back to Justin, or they gonna go to Tyrod?
Listen, man. Listen. You paid the man, right, to be the starting quarterback. You go, it was 0-7, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get your first win with the game he had, and you bench him? No, you don't do that. Because this is the Pittsburgh game all over again. The bottom line is your defense stepped up at the end and made some plays, and you got to win. Same game. So what they got to do is build on it, because Tyrod Taylor don't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. Brees Hall was my MVP when I watched that game. I just read the stat line. But Tyrod Taylor don't make the plays Justin made. I mean, Justin's what, 26? I think Tyrod's 36 years old.
Yeah.
So no, you paid Justin. Right now they're on a bye week. This is an opportunity to go and build on that. And if you Justin got real emotional in the press conference. I didn't particularly care for that, but I understood it. The reason why I didn't particularly care for that was you don't want people to know how vulnerable you really are. That's for the people that really know you. That's not for the media. You find a way to motivate yourself. If the people around you, let them motivate you. Your coaches, your teammates, your family, your friends. The media don't need to motivate you, because next week or the week after that, and you come out and have another poor game, guess what they're going to do? They're going to tear you down all over again. Your teammates, your coaches, family, friends, them the ones you're going to have to rely on in the end. I didn't like the way his press conference went, but I understood it. Don't get me wrong. I understood it. But bottom line is, if he continues to play like this, the Jets may not be the answer. But if he continues to play like this, he's just as good to be a starter as anybody else that had to have a great resurgence to their career. He just the route he got to take. The pressure's on every week. He got to play at a high level. Bottom line. Bottom line, he got to play at a high level. Anytime he get a chance, he got to play at a high level. Before this game, I wouldn't have started him. But say Tyrod had a knee problem or ankle or something like that. So he had an opportunity. And in this press conference, instead of him, and I understand what he did. Did you see his press conference?
Uh,
He gave a lot of praise. He's into his faith really heavy, and he is very vulnerable. But I sent it to you. But in my opinion, he should have just went to the mic and said, "Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach Glenn. Unfortunately, Tyrod was hurt, but thank you, Coach Glenn, for giving me an opportunity to play quarterback. Thank you." That's it. Should have been short this week, but I can't go against what he gave us. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. That's my nephew, right? All right. I think I spent too much time on that Jets game anyway. I mean, on the whole Jets thing, anyway, I just spent too much time on.
Yeah, where you want to go? Just a quick
Well,
update. Kansas City
let's
and
see. Okay,
Washington
so they beat the Bengals. They beat the Bengals. That's the Bears' next opponent.
Yeah,
Now Flacco is battling an injury, I think, right now. So I don't know if he's going to be ready for the Bears when the Bears go in to play Cincinnati. But that's yet to be seen. But so the Bears got Cincinnati in Cincinnati week 9, I believe it is. Yeah, week 9. Week 9. This was a light week for the NFL as far as teams playing. Like we had 6 teams on the bye: Cardinals, Jags, Lions, Raiders, Rams, and Seahawks were all on the bye. Okay. Um, Around the North, we checked out NFC North. The Packers went into Pittsburgh, won a game. I think that game was all about second half adjustments, and it was about Jordan Love had a really good night. Him and the tight end for the Green Bay. What's his name?
Was it Tucker Craft?
Tucker Craft. Yeah, Tucker had a good. I like that tight end for Green Bay. He's a good tight end. But Jordan Love, I guess this was supposed to be a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron didn't play all that bad, but that Pittsburgh defense, they ain't it. I think it's probably the highest paid defense in the NFL, and they certainly not playing like it. But that game was about second half adjustments. Um, I mean, when you think about the fact that the Packers went in and in the third quarter and the second half dominated their game the way they did, it makes you think twice about teams like Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's defense got to be really, really good to hold that team to 10 points the way they did. So throughout the league, it's a lot of inconsistency on the bad teams. One side of the ball, like Cleveland's got a really good defense. They experiment with their quarterback position. Say it again.
I said they trying to figure it out on offense, and not playing Shedeur. That's another story, another another topic. Before you move up that Packers Steelers game, I see the value of Micah Parsons because Rashawn Gary, who played for beloved Wolverines, has been having a hell of a. Every time they on TV, I'm hearing his name being called. Hearing his name called. Yesterday, he had 2 sacks. Yesterday, Michael Parsons really is showing the value of what he brings to a team because up until this season, I don't think you can say Rashawn Gary has made the impact that was thought he was going to do, especially when how he came to Michigan. He was a 5-star defensive end and was getting time on that defensive team, which was loaded at the time. He was getting time and getting tackles. And then his sophomore and junior year, it was kind of like Trevor Lawrence. His freshman year after he made the big splash, then he just kind of was like biding his time to get to the NFL, not really doing too much. Rashawn Gary's career at Michigan kind of went the same way. So to see him, every time the Packers on, just Rashawn Gary, another quarterback pressure, that I really see the value of Michael Parsons, because now he's probably not getting double covered and all that kind of, scheming towards him. They putting that towards Mike, and now he's able to play one-on-one and really show what he can do. So, yeah, shout out to Michael Parsons.
Yeah, a lot of people felt that way, that he would only make Rashad Gary better when putting those two together. He would make him more of a threat. And Michael Parsons, it's taking him a few weeks to get it going, but he's most definitely got it going. Barring injury, you have to think that it's going to continue to trend in the right direction for him in that Packers defense. But the Jordan Love was impressive in that second half. 29 of 37, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. Probably his best game ever. And for it to go against the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers on the other sideline had to be impressive. Had to be a great plane ride home back to Green Bay, as they have some ugly ass uniforms too. Pittsburgh had on that night too.
Yeah,
I got to mention it.
I
They
hate
don't need
that.
to do that no more.
Yeah, ever. They
Don't
do
do
it, I
that
think,
again.
like once a year, but to do it in a
Yeah,
prime time game like that,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It was
yeah.
ugly. It was ugly to watch. It was ugly to watch. But
Who in marketing made that decision when you got Aaron Rodgers playing his former team? This is the only time this probably gonna happen in his career. So why
yeah,
not get him in, pictures of him in the classic Steelers jersey? But y'all try to doubt that bullshit. That was an error in judgment on the market.
yeah. I didn't like it either. You know, the Packers marched out in that all white. I think they kind of, a lot of Bear fans was hoping that the Bears would come out with some all white with all white helmets with the white pants and white jerseys. But the Packers beat them to the punch on that one. So, but
I
those Steeler uniforms were ugly as hell. Um, in Pittsburgh, I've taken out time over the last 2 years to listen to a lot of sports talk coming out of Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin, he can't catch a break in that city, especially with Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback now. Because last year when he was winning games with Justin, first 6 weeks of the season, and then Russell Wilson came out and had a couple good games before they started to plummet. That fan base prior to the last season, they were talking about firing him, get rid of him, whatever, firing him. They've been talking like that for a while in Pittsburgh. Now, um, when they win is Aaron Rodgers. When they lose, it's coach fault. So I don't think he can't win for losing. Literally. I mean, if he win, he's not the reason why. If he's losing, he's most definitely the reason why. That fan base in Pittsburgh is really, for the majority, really, really had it with Coach Tomlin. And I gotta commend the organization because the Roonies, they continue to keep him around and shut down the noise and run that team the way they run that team. And the fans, I mean, I guess they keep showing up. They
Yeah.
selling out and they waving the terrible towels and they got hope every year. But to their credit, that defense is underachieving. They really are. I think they're old. I think what it is, they spend a lot of money on a lot of old defensive
Yeah,
players, and that's
around
the problem in Pittsburgh.
31.
Yeah,
Was it not TJ Watt? Ain't he like almost 30, if not 30?
man, I don't know exactly, but Haynes, what's the defensive tackle's name?
Cam Hayward, I think.
Cam
No,
Hayward. I mean, I think he
yeah.
got the gray beard popping right now, man, and you
TJ Watt
know,
31. Cam Hayward is 36.
Yeah, yeah. That's brutal, man. 36-year-old defensive tackle. That's brutal, man. That's brutal. And then they just paid both of them pretty good money to come back this season. But Tomlin, he got some issues on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers, he's not the Aaron Rodgers of old, but they've unlocked that running game to a degree. Aaron Rodgers got that quick game going with the passing. So if they can keep those scores low, Aaron Rodgers will give them a chance, and the defense can give them a chance to win games. But they got 35. You can't give up 35 a night and expect to win. That's anywhere in the NFL. So, like I said, the Packers ascended last night. They did that. I think they like 5-1-1 on the season, if I'm not mistaken.
It's either
5
5-1
victories,
or
yeah,
4-1.
5-1-1, yeah.
Yeah.
They had that tie with Dallas, so they 5-1-1 at the top of the NFC North, I believe, and I believe the Steelers at 4-3. And now with the Ravens, um, beating the Bears and got their second win of the season, and they on a short week now. They're about to play the Dolphins, and now they're saying that Lamar is ready to come back. So we'll see how that play out in week 9. We talked about good teams and bad teams, and we can kind of wrap it up in a minute, run down the rest of this league. But one team in particular I want to talk about is the Indianapolis Colts. Do you know? Shout out to those in the 317. They call him my man Indiana Jones.
I
Yeah.
saw they thinking about, paying him big money long term. And I'm like, man, y'all better just franchise that boy.
You might have a point right there. They're in the same predicament. They are the Minnesota of last year right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good comparison. And the crazy thing about it is Daniel Jones spent some time in
In Minnesota.
Minnesota last season. That's crazy. So he had a chance to work with O'Connell, and obviously it's turned him around a little bit. He's getting a chance to showcase his talents in Indianapolis. Maybe even found him a new home, and maybe they finally found they in that city of Indianapolis. They went from Peyton Manning to what was the quarterback name they had that retired?
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck. From Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck retired suddenly, and then all of a sudden, you've been scrambling trying to find that right guy. I think they brought in Phillip Rivers for a little point in
Matt
time. Matt Ryan, and now here you go, Indiana Jones. They calling him now. But the difference maker on that team is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor had a hell of a day yesterday. 12 carries, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I think we talked about that earlier. But shit, that was the central of a track meet. I mean, 12 carries, 153 yards on the ground. Damn, I mean, that was a hell of a day. And it was a light day at that. With 12 carries.
Is he getting MVP talk consideration?
Yes, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is why I felt like Saquon should have been the MVP last season.
Yeah.
Because he was doing it. And in this NFL, it's not supposed to happen that way. It's supposed to be a passing league. Yeah. So when a running back can stand out the way that Saquon did last year, and apparently the way that Jonathan Taylor's balling out this year, what quarterback right now, and I'm pretty sure you can find one or two that you can say playing on the MVP level. Dak Prescott has gotten a lot of praise. Baker Mayfield has gotten a lot of praise. I think those are two of the top guys that Josh was Josh Allen. He came in and he had the praise coming in, but you cannot overlook the contribution that Jonathan Taylor's having in Indianapolis right now. And if he can have the type of season, and the shame of it is, let's say he doesn't reach the numbers that Saquon had last season, but he ends up being the MVP of the league.
How you
What
justify?
does that say? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
What does that say about how we look at the league, how the media looks at the league? We know it's a passing league, but this is not supposed to happen. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's why we here. We watch the game, and what are they looking at? I mean, you can't force a narrative. If the guy playing his ass off, he one of the best to do it in the game on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, if I'm hoping that, like I said, shout out to my people in the 317. I'm hoping that he can continue to play this way, and maybe they can continue to have some success, and maybe we're gonna see them coming down the road. But
'cause
now, when we talk,
they got the best
say it
record.
again.
They got the best record in the league right now, I think.
Yeah, right now the Colts are 7-1. I believe they do have the best record in the league, but it's about to get interesting for the Colts. Um, right now they're 7-1. They're up. Their schedule is about to get interesting. I believe you got. Okay, so they got the Steelers. Then they got the Falcons. Falcons had a lost a tough game. I think Kirk Cousins played that game. It's amazing to me how these older quarterbacks can take 1 year off. 1 year they can get in one season. They can just have such a bad drop off. Uh, but then they got the Chiefs, the Texans, the Jaguars, and Seahawks. I think when the Colts go to Kansas City, we will know exactly who they are. I think they played the Chargers so far. Um, they played Denver. They played the Chargers. They beat Denver. They beat the Chargers. So they beat some playoff teams already coming out of AFC West. Now, when they go to KC, that's going to tell us a lot about this team in the AFC. They're going to have a stranglehold on the AFC when they go to play
The
KC.
only team they only lost to the Rams, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they lost to the Rams 27-20. It was in Los Angeles. So but talk about teams ascending as we talked about earlier. I think good teams are the teams that made the playoffs and when they come in the next season, that's not, in my opinion, that's the only way you're gonna get a trap game in my opinion. That's what I was telling you. A trap game is for teams that we know have already done well, but I felt like the Bears were ascending. I think the Titans, not the Titans, but the Colts are ascending. I think we're going to find out more about the Colts when they go to KC. And the thing about it is, I'm looking at the schedule. That KC game is a 12 o'clock game, and it's a CBS game. But you have to wonder, if it wasn't a CBS game, could it be, flexed? And it still could probably be flexed to 325, to that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock Eastern time, because that's a real big matchup now when you look at the schedule. Now they go to Pittsburgh. They got Pittsburgh next week. So you got to go up against Rodgers in Pittsburgh, but their defense ain't doing too well. But I think if they can stay at this one loss record with this one loss, when they get to KC in a couple weeks, we will know. We'll have a lot more to know. We will know a lot more about the Indianapolis Colts. So shout out to the 317. That team doing a hell of a job. Indiana Jones doing this thing, turning his career around. Jonathan Taylor is that guy. He's been that guy for a while, and now the team around him is playing really well. I want to send a shout out to my cousin Swifty. That's his team, man. He been a Colts fan ever since. Peyton Manning. I always tell him, back in the 80s, we was doing, people in Indianapolis, they was doing Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah.
Back in '85, but, in the middle of the night, the Colts moved in from Baltimore, and it's changed everything down there ever since. But shout out to my cousin Swift. But yeah, man, we're gonna see if the Colts for real when we get to Kansas City. I believe in them, but I want to see that. They also got Seattle later on in the season as well. So when I look at their schedule, Seattle and KC are two big games on their schedule. Now, any given Sunday can happen at any given time. They got an early. They go back to that early Sunday morning game against the Falcons. I don't
Yeah,
know particularly where they're playing, but yeah, they got two good games on that schedule. If they can hold serve with this one loss record, I'm be looking forward to seeing what the Colts can do the rest of this season.
With the I'm looking at their schedule. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do that Chiefs game, the 325. Ain't no way they
Yeah,
gonna be on the noon.
yeah, I can see it being flex too.
And
Yeah,
that's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. That's gonna be a
yeah,
325 game.
yeah, I can see
Tony
that being a
Romo and
flex.
Jim Nance.
Yeah, I can see that being a flex. I'm gonna run down through some scores, and we can probably must get up out of here. So we talked about a few games right now as we speak. It's Monday Night Football. The Chiefs are ahead of the Commanders in the third quarter with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. They're up 21-7. Um, the Vikings kicked off Week 8 on Thursday night, going to Los Angeles. They end up losing to the old ball coach Jim Harbaugh 37-10. The Dolphins did a number on the Falcons 34-10. The Patriots, they we talked about Drake May earlier, but the Patriots, they doing it all kind of ways. Defensively, offensively, they running the ball really well. Drake May's doing a pretty good job, at quarterback. He was 18-24 for 282 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Patriots defeated the Browns 32-10. That's a lot. That's a lot when you consider that the Browns might have one of the top teams in the NFL, one of the top defensive teams in the NFL. And this is the reason why I wanted to run through these scores a little bit, because each one of these games has a story to it. If you know what's going on, and stop me if you want to elaborate on anything in particular now. But I'm just gonna run through. We're gonna get out of here. Okay, so I talked about the Patriots, Browns. Everybody know the story in Cleveland with the Browns. You got Dylan Gabriel. I think it's his second start. And I think we will see Shador at some time if they do not get a win and if things don't improve. But when I look at Dylan Gabriel, he's not playing terrible.
Yeah,
They're just not. They're just not playing. He's just not. They're just not good enough. But I still think you might see Shador at some point in time this season.
I don't. It's like he
Well,
can keep playing
see,
like
that's the
this.
thing.
He can keep
That's the
playing like
thing. If you don't win, we still got a lot of football left to play. So if Dylan Gabriel wins and he continues to stay healthy, yeah. But everyone's going. I think everybody's a little banged up right now, and I just think, regards to if he's playing well, Caleb Williams, he played all 17 games last season at that position of quarterback, and he's to be commended for that. But I think that's a tough call at this time. That's a tough feat right now. So Dylan Gabriel, he's not playing terrible,
right.
but if they're not winning, I'm telling you, the pressure to play Shador is going to rear its head. I just think so. That's just how I feel.
It's here now. I mean, that pressure is
Yeah, but it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. Dylan Gabriel, he's not playing horribly. He's not horrible, but they're not winning. And I don't know if the Browns have had a bye yet. And that's something you need to think about too.
It ain't no difference between 115 degrees and 118 degrees. It's hot at that point. You know what I'm saying? So they've been dealing with the Shador saga all this year, and then they trade Joe Flacco. I mean, they bench Joe Flacco, and he goes to the backup quarterback. Shador still don't move up the depth chart. Then they trade Joe Flacco. They go with Dylan Gabriel. Like you said, Dylan Gabriel, he's not playing terrible. They just ain't winning. So he can keep building along and keeping one eye above water, and that's going to be enough to keep Shador on the bench, because it's obvious that the head coach does not want to play him. So I don't think we're gonna get Shador unless Dylan Gabriel gets
injured or plays horrible.
He will have
plays horrible. He's got to do one of the two. He's got to play extremely bad, or he has to get injured. But like I said, I don't know if the Browns have had a bye week yet. That's something to think about. Then I'm gonna move on, and we're gonna wind it up. We're gonna go a little bit further down. Okay, so the Giants go to Philly after they beat Philly earlier this season, and they lose to the Giants to the Eagles 38-20. And unfortunately, Cam Scatterboo dislocated his broken ankle or something like that. So I think he's out for the season. See, that's one storyline with the Giants.
Didn't you love last week? Didn't you say like that's gonna be over with real quick? I think we was having that conversation. I said Mike Allstat. I don't think you said an injury.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see that. But I just when I seen Scatterboo coming out of college, it's a lot of he plays hard. He plays hard. And I just felt like at some point in time the measurables are going to have, when you talk about the speed of the game, I felt like at some point that was going to catch up and he would average out. But he was playing extremely well, and the Giants had a certain juice around that locker room behind Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart, and with Scatterboo going down, they say we're gonna see how big Scatterboo was, because most people say the running back is probably one of the easiest positions to replace. So if that's the case, we shall see, and that would tell us about also we know Scatterboo. He brought a certain inspiration to that team. You can see it on social media. I listen to a lot of New York media. Mike Francesa, I listened to him quite a bit, and he was very high on Scatterboo and Jackson Dart. They really had that city, and to see Scatterboo go down, we're gonna see how the Giants and how Jackson Dart rebound from that whole situation. An amazing thing about that, we talked about the Jets earlier. So now with the Jets having one win and the Giants having 2 wins, 2 totally different energies for both teams.
Yeah.
I listen to New York media a little bit, but it's 2 totally different energies for both teams. Even though the records are similar. So Jets going into a bye and coming out of that bye, it's going to be interesting for me to see how the city of New York shifts if the Jets can put some victories together. I kind of want to see how that goes. That's just for me personally. Bills go to Carolina and they get back on track, beating the Panthers 40-9. Andy Dalton started for the Panthers. Bryce Young was out. I think he has an ankle injury. But I said this earlier. It's amazing. I spoke on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't play particularly well with the Falcons. They got beat by Miami. And then I looked at some of these highlights with the Bills and Panthers, and I'm like, damn, just what makes you look at Aaron Rodgers and be like, he still got it a little bit, because Andy Dalton looked like a rookie against the Buffalo Bills. The one thing you don't expect for a veteran quarterback to do is hold the ball too long and have bad ball security. And he did all of it. Andy Dalton. I'm like, damn, man, is it that bad? I mean, did you drop off that bad in 1 or 2 seasons? But like I said again, they go down 40-9 to the Panthers. What do we have here? I'll wrap it up. Texans beat the 49ers 49ers can't get healthy. I think that's their problem. I think I expected the 49ers to do much better than what they're doing. It's not because it's the talent level and it's the injuries. The injuries are piling up in San Fran. Um, um, the Texans got back on track with CJ Stroud having a pretty good game. 30 of 39 for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good for him to get back on track because CJ Stroud hadn't been having his third season it hasn't been anywhere close to what he was 2 years ago. You know,
Yeah,
the year before last.
he was on.
So
I was watching their game week before last when they I think it was they playing the Broncos maybe, and they was getting cooked. They was getting and
yeah,
they just kept the camera on his face. He was just going through the tablet like I have no clue what's going on, but he was trying not to show no facial expression. So yeah, good to see them get a win though.
yeah. Buccaneers over the Saints 23-3. Baker Mayfield 15 for 24, 152 yards, just enough to beat the Saints. Just enough to beat the Saints. I think the Saints made a switch at quarterback. They brought in Tyler Shock in the third quarter, benching the
Spencer
kid
Rattler.
Spencer Rattler. They benched Spencer Rattler, brought in Tyler Shock. Didn't make much of a difference. Buccaneers over Saints 23-3. Um, I thought this was gonna be a better game. And it's gonna be this gonna wrap us up, I believe. I think we talked about it all the rest of the games. I thought this was gonna be a better game though. When I saw it on the schedule, it was in that afternoon window, that 4 o'clock Eastern, with the Cowboys and the Broncos. I thought that was gonna be a much better game. But early in this game, the Broncos defense showed everybody exactly how good they were. They held the Cowboys in check the whole first half. But the final score, I think they was up like 20, 30 something to 10 at one point. Final score ended up being 44-24. Your boy Joe Milton got in and threw a touchdown pass in that game. Bo Nix, 19 for 29 for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns. But the thing about the Broncos is, as Bo Nix continued to develop, it's extremely hard to play defense in the NFL because of the way the rules are set up. The Broncos, the Seahawks, the Browns, um, I think that's it. Maybe the Colts, some of your top defenses in the league. And that's to be commended because it's really difficult to play defense in the NFL in this era, with the way the rules are set up. But that covers the NFL for me. But what I want to know is, do you believe? Okay, so now the Wolverines in college football, them your guys. What they like 5-2? What's their record?
5-2.
5-2 Wolverines. This is the most exciting team that I've seen. Bryce Underwood, probably the most exciting quarterback since Shoelace. I'm just being honest with you. And Shoelace didn't play on a great team. His coach, the scheme wasn't even right. But Shoelace was exciting. And I think Bryce, along with the guys around him, this is probably one of the most exciting teams that I've seen. And with that saying, even with the championship team that you just had a couple years back, this is exciting. I actually look forward to seeing these guys play, and I kind of know what they may still end up in the playoffs. I think if they run the table, they can get one of those. What is it? One of those low seeds, probably sneak in.
Be a home playoff game.
Yeah, exciting. One of the most exciting teams, and considering all the things that they've went through with the coaching situation, with the suspensions, and all the allegations from the NCAA, for them to be able to prevail and get through all of that with Coach Moore and still end up in a situation with this young team where they can end up in the playoffs. But I said all that to ask you this. Are the Indiana Hoosiers who we think they are? They number 2 in the country.
They
No,
got
Ohio State's number 1. We know that's going to be the game. That's the game. Michigan can make some noise, and for sure they'll be in the playoffs. But now, Indiana made the playoffs last year, but it's all about consistency. Number 2 in the country. We didn't see that coming. NIL has changed the game. They really have.
I gotta see them do it. I gotta see them do it before I jump on that bandwagon. I mean, in their 2 biggest games last year, they went to Columbus, and they didn't look like they belonged. And then that playoff game, I think they had to go to South Bend, and they didn't look like they belonged. So, yeah, I got to see it. And they schedule the way Indiana's schedule is shaking out this year. They don't
look like they can run the table.
Yeah, they don't play Ohio State this year. I don't think they got to play Oregon. We don't play them. So they kind of dodged some of the potential pitfalls, but we got to see it. So they look good, but I got to see them do it in the big moments.
They're extremely physical. They're good on defense. But the Big Ten championship game, I believe they're going to end up facing Michigan or Ohio State when it's all said and done in that Big Ten championship game. And that's what it's going to come down to. Now, they still may end up in the playoffs, but I think we're going to find out a lot about the Hoosiers when they play. And if they make it to that championship game, which I think they'll probably be facing one of those 2 teams, Michigan or Ohio State. So
possibly
we're supposed to go down to go check out Purdue in Michigan, but unfortunately that ain't gonna happen. So
yeah, that's all.
yeah. So, but hey, it's week 9 coming up for the NFL. I think we're going into week 10 in college football. What are the Wolverines? I don't know, bye week, another bye this week.
No, if it's Purdue this week,
they got Purdue. Yeah, they got Purdue this week. Yeah, I just said it. We supposed to win to that game. They got Purdue, but it's more important in Indiana.
Yeah,
the Colts have the top team in the NFL record wise, and the Hoosiers are number 2 in the country.
And the Pacers was just in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and the Pacers was just an A. More than quarter in Indiana, man. That's all I got to say. I think we can leave them with that. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with our week 9 and week 10. Maybe we'll talk about some college football next week. I don't know. We don't know how this is gonna go. It's been a pleasure.
Comment, like, and subscribe. We out.